Oh man, another open bar already. I'll tell you, like these weeks just like fly by. But I love this topic. I love this topic, and we've been talking behind the scenes about it. It's very, very interesting. When we think about like the red pill space, and it bothers the heck out of me because red pill used to mean something, and now it just means like alt right problem, and that's not what it. It's not what it is. But the reason why it's become that way is because we have so many bad actors in the space, and honestly, like I think it's like affecting young men and like leading them in the wrong direction. When I look at certain shows like Fresh and Fit, like, and that's no offense to Myron or Walter at all, but when it comes to those types of shows, it's like Jerry Springer and like bringing on like OnlyFans models and stuff like that, and it's not giving men the realistic view of women. And so that's why with this, and Kevin, thank you for bringing it forward. When it comes to this topic, and that's why I put the title as, pick up before putting down dating. Whatever happened to the fundamentals? Whatever happened to the basics? Whatever happened to pick up artistry, whether you like agree with it or not? But like whatever happened to those people that were such gems? Like I mean, like Mystery, for example.
Oh, Eric, yeah. Yeah, I was. It's so funny you bring that up. You know me well as a friend, and I got a long commute, so I listen to audiobooks. Back and forth to work about an hour and a half each day. And my finished my latest book and didn't find anything that really stuck out to me. So I was like, let me look and listen to something that I haven't listened to in a while in my vast collection. And I saw The Game by Neil Strauss or Style. And the book was written back in 2005. I didn't read it back then. I think 2009 or 2010 is when I actually picked up the book, and then now it's on audio. And, Neil or Style, he was one of Mystery's first students of the first seminar he did in LA, back in the day. And the book doesn't really talk about pickup artistry, but I'm glad you brought that point up because it tells his story, and it tells a little bit of Mystery's story. And, throughout the years of, what they learned to master, which is basically the cold approach, how to gain attention, how to become captivating and not being like everyone else. And there's really nobody out there anymore like that. Even Ross Jeffries, I mean, I think he's in his 60s now. I know Mystery's in his 50s now. And there's nobody picking up what they put down. And furthermore, there's no bridging the gap. They did a great job at getting the girl interested. And for a lot of times it was to get laid. And there's nothing wrong with that. What comes after that? Where's the guys that are picking up where they left off to say, how do I remain captivating? How do I become the man if you're looking for a long-term relationship? Because getting your foot in the door is one thing, maintaining the household is another.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and we've seen that with even one of the members of our community. Like it's been absolutely wild what he's done, like from taking my book and my concepts and my coaching to completely evolve it into just like he's just having so much fun and like seeing those text messages, those interactions that he's having with people. Like he's always getting responses and he can take it whatever direction he wants. That is evolving. That is evolving the basics. And we're not evolving basics anymore. Instead, we're just shitting on reality. It almost seems like we're shitting on, oh, the dating market sucks. Like, okay, yeah, the dating market is harder than it's been before. We don't have those in-person interactions in the same way that we used to, but instead of like hating on it, let's evolve with it. And we don't have a lot of evolvers anymore. What do you think about that, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's an interesting evolution that everything has kind of gone through, right? Because you had the pickup artists, which were kind of like the first guys, launching satellites to figure out, hey, we can actually get into outer space. And then you had the next evolution of that, which was kind of like the blog sphere, which, again, for those of you guys that are younger, like you're wanting to clock back about, even as recent as maybe like 8 years ago, everybody was blogging. It was all about the blogs, the big blogs, the forums, the posts, all that stuff. So that was kind of like, hey, we kind of figured out that we can put things in orbit and kind of circle around the planet for a little bit. That's great. And then once we evolved kind of this new phase that we're at, it's like, okay, cool. We figured out that we can actually get someone to the moon and get them back. But the kind of problem with that is that, for those of us who've been around for a little while, we've been able to see and experience and grow and evolve through this evolution. But if you're brand new coming into the space, you kind of see the whole end result of all that, but you don't see all of the context. And so when you don't have the context, there's that real large missing piece. And that's why, going to Fresh and Fit, like their channel is a little bit polarizing to me, just because it's like, they, on the one hand, do have that sort of Jerry Springer element, which is, the train wrecks and the very unreal, the not reality whatsoever, right? Where you have all the girls on there and everyone's like arguing and it's like very combative, but that's what guys were flocking to and they're watching and they're like, want to watch the train wreck, which to me is not productive. But then you look at a lot of their other shows that they do where they have like financial coaches on there. They have other lifestyle coaches on there as well. The real meat and potatoes of like their channel. And you see a lot of the really awesome, great, just amazing things that are outlined there. It's, a really great resource library to really help folks out. But it's really interesting how, psychologically we tend to be more hardwired towards that negativity, that drama and all that other stuff. So, as you said, a lot of people are really flocking to the whole, like, well, we just want to, take our pot shots at like how bad and terrible the whole dating market is as a whole and complain about the whole thing. But, no one's really trying to, at a broader level, like really evolve it beyond there or beyond that. So it's like we've, kind of like with the space program, right? It's like, all right, well, we hit the moon. Great. And now we're just done. We're gonna sit on this for another 40, almost 50 years, and then it'll take some crazy eccentric billionaires to like try and restart space programs to get people like interested in that. But that's kind of the thing that we've done. It's like, okay, we hit the moon. Now what? Where do we go from here?
Well, I see a lot of the guys that are checking out early. The young guys that fall into the trap of just seeing the Jerry Springer. Want to call it. It's easier. It's a lot easier to just cope with it and say, okay, I'm going to MGTOW and I don't need it. I'm not even going to try. Instead of evolving from what they're seeing and not realizing that the red pill space that most of us guys know, especially older guys like myself, that's not what red pill was intended. And a lot of people are using, even some politician or political groups are using red pill as an analogy that was never intended to be red pill content. It was intended to be more realistic, had a lot of masculine qualities in it, but still are very good for men, especially young men. That the modern day red pill has evolved, but it's evolved in a way that I don't think is positive to young men.
Well, I mean,
I would agree with you on that. I mean, one of the things that I'm just thinking about, because I mean, heck, I just came from the wedding this weekend. One of the guys that I met through one of these communities, he just got married and he's happy. And that's fantastic. We don't teach, or at least the content that I see is not teaching how to truly develop healthy, happy relationships. And the only content that even really talks about dating, it's always like, oh, spinning plates and like, I'm going to cheat, just like tell her ahead of time. And it's like, is this like, that's not the purpose. Like the entire thing of Red Pill is that it was understanding social dynamics. It was understanding how like intersexual dynamics, social intersexual dynamics of how men and women interact with one another. And that's why it was such an interesting thing what Mystery did with Mystery Method, and then with Neil Strauss documenting it with the game, and then so many other people in that space during that time period were really looking at, because you're testing a bunch of different things out and figuring out what works. Nowadays, it's almost like the message isn't, oh, try my way of making it work. It's like, it's not worth trying because women suck. And that is just very, very, very negative. I guess what they call like the black belt. And I think that it's really important for young guys, especially, even though it may be more entertaining to watch Jerry Springer Fresh and Fit, you need to go back to some of the greats. Some of the greats really teach you like everything. Like God bless his soul. ARC, Alan Roger Curry, Mode 1. I had the fortunate enough to be able to interview him on my channel at one point. Really such a cool guy. I love that man. We got along so well, and I know that if we were born at the same time, we would have killed it back in college. And you'll hear some of those stories in that interview. But those are the types of people that really set the foundation. And so, like, even today, when you think of some of the things that we've invented, like this, hope I'm not showing anything, like this. Most people don't even remember a flip phone. They don't even remember a flip phone. Where did the foundation come? Like they don't understand the basis. And if you don't understand like the basics on that, like how do you improve upon it? How do you actually learn from it? Like maybe we need to go back to some of those things. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the large problem is that, because there's so much content readily available and easily searchable right now, it's, a lot of guys have a lot of opinions without a lot of experience. And so the whole point and purpose of the whole space and everything was to create this tool set that you could then go use for your own personal self-development. So you could figure out what exactly worked for you and how you could use it to your benefit. And, if you have this really negative view of women, like you completely missed the entire point, because the original point in the early days, especially, was like, hey, we just want to understand them better. So that way we can have a much better experience overall. So, if your takeaway from the content is this real negative connotation to women, then you've completely missed the entire original point and the original intent of the space, which was, hey, let's better understand what exactly we're dealing with and how these things work. So that way we can, love them better for what they are, not for what they can't be. And so just having that actual, reality filter on there. And so that's where, for a lot of guys, especially on the younger side, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of opinions, but you just don't have the experience to truly validate those opinions. So you can always watch a ton of content all day, every single day, but until you actually go out and do things yourself, then it's going to be drastically different. And again, yeah, there's going to be experiences that are totally going to suck, and you're going to know what that goes like, but then that's how you get better, right? And then there's going to be those moments where you have those breakthrough moments and those clicks and those ahas and those really awesome, amazing experiences. So I think the core fundamental thing is just, if you want to get the best out of something, you have to have a positive view of it. Otherwise, if you continuously have this negative view, your perception is going to create that reality. It's going to be this negative kind of feedback loop. And so, now it's real easy to get kind of sucked into that, because, if I was a guy that was, in my early 20s and, sucked at dating and just started doing some internet research, after a couple hours, all I'm going to think is, oh my gosh, all these women, all they want to do is just use me for my resources and then dump me to find the next better looking guy that's going to come along and give them more and then hop on to the next thing. Yeah. So, because that's the message that's continuously put out there. But it's there's a whole other side to it that just gets, no real mention whatsoever. And there's a massive upside to, having the relationships and going down that pathway. But, a lot of guys start seeing that.
I want to hop in on that before I toss it to you, Kevin. What I found really interesting, what you said right there, Josh, is if you kind of think of it like a job, if you wake up every day and you hate your job and you're dreading going to your job, well, then you're going to drag your feet and you're going to, you maybe just do the bare minimum. But if you wake up excited for the opportunity to be at that job and where you can go from that job, your output's going to be a hell of a lot better. So having that positive mindset going into any type of dating, any type of relationship, is going to land a better result than going into anything with a negative one.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And you hit something really good there, Josh, about, depending on what the content you're watching and how the red pill space has evolved into what it is. And even you said something, Alex, a lot of books that are out there from the modern faces, they talk about spinning plates, and if anybody who sees us don't know what spinning plates, that's dating multiple women at the same time. But then you hear terms like hypergamy, which hypergamy is very real. And that's basically the premise that women date equal or up. But that's evolutionary from the get-go, basically from when women wanted a man that could protect them and feed them before technology. But now hypergamy has become, okay, if you're above her now, wait till somebody above you comes into her life, she's just going to drop you and leave you. And that might happen on occasion, but I don't think that's necessarily always the case. But modern red pill keeps that image in your head that, oh, she's not mine, it's just my turn. And that's where I think, because that'll stick in a young man's mind a lot harder than just normal. What hypergamy is that women tend to date equal and up, which it's always been that way. Now there's a few outliers where women are the breadwinners and that kind of stuff, but that's few and far between. There's always exceptions to the rule. And there's, when it comes to spinning plates and, you know, looking a girl in the eye and say, hey, I'm going to sleep with other girls. There's very few Justin Wallers in the world. Justin Wallers of the world can do that. The average guy like myself can't do that. But if these young men are getting told that, they go into a relationship with almost a negative attitude that comply or goodbye type thing. And the original red pill space was designed to embrace the gender differences and gender roles, learn them, and exploit them together as a couple or as just as a man, not to learn to hate women.
Well, and it's kind of like what Huds was saying about, your job and your perspective, right? So it's like, even if once you understand the fundamental nature of like hypergamy, right? And it's like, oh, they date, their level or above. It's like, hey, that's a great challenge, because now it pushes you to be like better, right? It pushes you to be like, hey, I'm here, but I want to be here. And because again, when you're here, but then you get here, it's amazing all the rewards and everything that comes with it, as well as, just the value that you get and appreciation you have for it by going along through that journey. So, the problem is, yeah, like you said, Kev, a lot of guys, like, they see that and they're just instantly discouraged. And it's just like, well, there's no point. It's all like this and this. But instead, you should flip that perspective and just say, hey, like, look, here's your kind of personal challenge. Say, yeah, you're here at a certain level, but you can always improve. You can always get better. You can always try and figure out a different way that you can level up. So you should embrace that as a challenge to see like really where you can go and what you can do with these things. And that's where a lot of these tools and stuff in the space are. And yeah, I understand the whole reason why there's a lot of the Jerry Springer-ishness in the whole space. I mean, it's entertaining. There is stuff to be aware of, right? There's stuff that you want to be aware of and have a heads up of. But, again, understand that if you're a person and, you're going to go visit, right, another town, and everyone says, oh my gosh, everyone in that town is just a sneaky pickpocket. They're all going to try and rob you. Everywhere you walk, you're not going to interact with people because you're afraid that they're always trying to rob you. Yeah. So instead of just being like, hey, let me just, all right, keep that in the back of my mind, keep my head a little bit on my shoulders and be aware. But there's actually a lot of really nice, really pleasant people. And so, if you traveled a bit, people will probably know that too. You hear all these negative things or stereotypes about places, and then you go and you're just like, no, I mean, it's
just normal town like everywhere else.
Yeah.
Guys, hate to ruin it. We got a great conversation here, but it's time to go behind the paywall and have our weekly meeting.
Yeah, no, it sounds good.
Anything you want to close with?
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to close with, if you guys want to dive deeper into this conversation, we're going to be talking about some of the originals. I know when we were talking just privately a couple days ago, like, was it Richard Laruna or something? He was pivotal for me. I know Josh, Christian McQueen, even though he wasn't an OG, he still delivered a lot of value. And then talking about mystery and Neil Strauss and a lot of the fundamentals, that's kind of what we're going to focus on today. So if you guys are interested in a conversation like that, absolutely, menofnow.us or down in the description below to be able to join us, because it's going to get deep, and this is not going to be the only time we talk about it, because I think it's time that we look back at the greats. So with that, peace out, guys. Until next time.
Have a good one.